Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. My name is Allie and welcome to the top comment where I read and react to insane internet chaos in the form of Reddit stories. So if you like this type of content, please don't forget to subscribe. It's totally free and it means a lot to me. Alright, so on Tuesday's episode, we talked about people who got petty revenge. And now today we are going to be looking at people who took it up a step further and went full on professional revenge mode. So let's get into it. All right, the first story comes from r/pro revenge, and it says, cheat on your wife with mine, I will burn your life to the ground. Way back in the early 2000s, I began to suspect that my wife was up to something. Our two kids, about 4 and 6, still young, but not so young they couldn't tell you something about what happened in their day. They started talking a lot about staying with my wife's parents during the day, which wasn't really that strange in and of itself, but since they lived about 90 minutes away, doing so 2 or 3 times a week seemed a bit much. That was basically every day she wasn't working at her part-time job. When I asked her about it, she denied it, but was never a good liar. So I started tracking the mileage on her car, and sure enough, she was driving an extra 400 miles or so per week. At that time, I knew some shit was going on. Then one day, I sat down at the computer and she had left a sticky note with her AOL password written on it next to the keyboard. I could not resist and logged in to read her emails and saw a few email exchanges between her and her college best friend, where they discussed how my wife was regularly screwing one of her ex-boyfriends from high school. No mention of the details about him other than my wife also talking about his wife, making fun of how she'd gotten fat after having kids. Anyway, I printed out these email exchanges and stashed them away. I still needed to know the details, so I called a friend who was a cop and he suggested I call a guy he knew that had left the force to become a private investigator. Ron was great. I paid his retainer and gave him the emails and what little I knew about my wife's activities, and he figured out exactly what she was doing and where she was going. His report, detailed with photos and times, dates, locations, all about how she would take the kids to her parents, then go meet this guy for lunch, then they'd go to a dumpy motel for a few hours, after which she'd picked up the kids and return home. At this point, I hired a divorce attorney. My parents cheated on each other and the fallout absolutely ruined mine and my siblings' childhood. It was something that was totally unacceptable. I also asked Ron to figure out what he could about this guy. Ron absolutely came through for me. I learned his name, Bob, and I also found out that he worked as a VP of sale for his father-in-law's business. At this point, I had my lawyer draw up the divorce papers. I also asked Ron for a couple more copies of his report and one more thing I wanted him to do for me. On the same day I had my wife served with the divorce papers at her job, I had Ron meet with the guy's wife and show her everything he had found out. She seemed nice and I figured she deserved to know what her dear hubby was up to. What she did with that information was up to her. While the information about my wife's infidelity didn't really matter in my divorce proceedings, Bob's wife did a real number on him. According to the publicly available court documents from the divorce and other related proceedings, she cleared out their joint account, took the kids, and left. As soon as her dad found out what he'd done, Bob was fired, and since her parents actually owned the house where Bob and his wife lived, he also got evicted. Their divorce was ugly. Lots of fighting in and evidently out of court. I guess Bob went to the house and started arguing with his wife, and it escalated to the point that her brother stepped in and Bob got his nose broken. There were restraining orders, a few more incidents with police reports, criminal charges, jail time, and so on. I can't find Bob on the internet anymore anywhere these days. Last I'd heard, he'd left the state. His ex-wife did okay. She went to work at her dad's company and ended up taking it over after he retired. As for me, my ex and I got along well enough. I didn't engage with her on anything that wasn't related to the kids, and now they're both adults. I don't really talk to her at all anymore. I don't hate her or anything, but the only care in the context is that she is my kid's mom and is important to them. Absolutely nothing beyond that. Wow, you sure took it to the next level here by hiring a PI to find out exactly what she's been up to, but honestly, good for you. Cheating is definitely a deal breaker for me too. If you were to do that to me, we are done. I don't care who you are. I don't care care how long we've been together. That is completely unacceptable and personally not something I would be able to get over. So you definitely made the right call here for you and for your children. Why stay in a miserable marriage when your kids are just going to be miserable too? And seeing as you had it happen before with your parents growing up, you definitely made the right decision. I love that you got revenge. I love that you found a way to tell his wife as well, because she deserves to know at the end of the day what an absolute scumbag her husband is. So, all right, let's get into these comments here. The top comment on this post said, had to pause for a moment at the mention of AOL. That sure takes me back. Yeah, who uses AOL for their I almost said for their Gmail. Who uses AOL for their email anymore? I guess it still exists and it was one of the OGs. So someone replies under this comment and says, yeah, 2024 and my brother still uses AOL for mail. They moved close to us recently and we were visiting and we heard the old, you've got mail coming from his office. Hilarious. He just said it works fine for my needs. I mean, that's fair. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why get a different email if you don't have to? I mean, there's no reason for it. The next comment says, sorry for all of this happening to you. On the other hand, well played. You checked off all of the boxes and got it done. Yes, you did, my dear. You absolutely deserve an award for this. If I had a sticker to give you through the camera, I would. This next comment says, that's some serious maturity you had there without breaking down. Your ability to keep your sanity would be one of the most crucial things your kids will and should learn, in my opinion. I agree. You really showed them a good example. And, you said they're grown now, so maybe they know what happened, but if not, I hope that they were able to heal from all of this, because I imagine that would have to be pretty traumatic. And yeah, you definitely handled your cool. You exhibited a ton of emotional maturity. I think that would have just probably been the straw that broke my camel's back at that point, because wow, all those years and kids later. And also for her to sleep with someone that she was dating in high school. Girl, grow up. I am judging you so hard for that mistake. Like, grow up. That's immature. She deserved every bad thing that happened to her after this. This woman gets a 0 out of 10 for me. I have many notes. The last comment says, kudos to you for not letting your anger at your ex prevent you from working with her to make things not suck for your kids any more than they had to. Because divorce as a kid sucks no matter what, but parents can absolutely make it worse than it has to be. That is very true. I have seen it time and time again. I have read thousands of stories like that. I know people in my personal life that are like that. And if you can't get along, go get an attorney, go get a mediator or something. Don't make it miserable on the kids when it doesn't need to be. But all right, let's go ahead and get into this next story here. This next one comes from r/pro revenge as well. Trigger warning for anybody that has like religious trauma or mother-in-law trauma or anything like that. You might want to skip this story. It is definitely a longer one. I think it's worth the read, but if you're feeling a little sensitive today, I love you. Go ahead and skip on to story number 3. You're fine. No judgment. Go take care of yourself. This one says, my ex-mother-in-law sent her church friends to harass my daughters and I. I have now exposed her family to the church community and she's getting slammed and shunned at church. A 46-year-old female, daughters, 17 and 15-year-old females, have a strained relationship with my ex-husband's parents, who are 78 male and 80 female. Part of the drama has been my ex-in-laws trying to get custody of my daughters and them also trying to live with us, since due to his cheating and him leaving 2 boys born with his affair partner orphaned, she also died in the accident. Part of the drama has been my ex-in-laws trying to 1, get custody of my daughters, and 2, they've also been trying to live with us. First of all, we are going to court over. The second will never ever happen. Where we live, there's a weekend market with fresh produce, eggs, meats, and other products straight from farmers. This week was extra special since it was my youngest's birthday. Since her party is later in the month, I decided to give her a budget and set her loose on the market to get whatever she wanted, mostly chocolate and sweets. After about an hour, I did start getting worried, and just before I called her, she called me. She was crying, saying some weird people had cornered her at the market. I ran to her with my oldest daughter to find 6 older women berating my daughter for being unchristian, for refusing to spend time with her parental grandparents, or for wanting to be a good big sister to her poor orphaned brothers. My daughters are the ones that found out about my ex cheating and the babies, so they aren't fond of the kids, rightfully so. It's trauma and they are working through it with a therapist. I got between the group and my daughter, telling my eldest to go pay for the stuff she had and to go to the car. I then turned to the woman, some who I knew from when we went to my ex-in-law's church, and ripped them a new one. They told me I was the worst for refusing to obey my ex-in-laws like a good Christian wife. Barf. Eventually, the screaming turned too loud and we were all asked to leave the market. I met with my girls in the car, the woman following me like a group of vultures. I managed to get in the car and drove away. After my girls went to bed, I got online to talk to another member of that church that I'm on good terms with. I told him about what happened and he apologized profusely and he told me what was going on. My ex-mother-in-law posted this massive story in the church's Facebook group about how horrible my daughters and I are, how we're leaving them homeless and penniless. They inherited my ex's personal bank account and his life insurance, and how my daughters don't even talk to them. She also accused us of being the reason why she lost her grandsons. The boys are now living with distant relatives of my ex-husband. Basically, it was a sob story worthy of a Hallmark movie, and of course, they were getting all the love and support from the more extremist members of the church. This church and its members are a bit annoying, especially with LGBTQ plus topics, but they have a small saving grace. They are incredibly strict about cheating. It is a big no-no, be it from husband or wife equally. Now, how did she get around to blaming me for the affair children without exposing the cheating? She claimed the other woman was our surrogate since I was unable to have more children. Then I said I didn't want the babies because they were boys, which is absolutely disgusting to be accused of. Well, I decided it was time to clean up this mess, and since I was mid-divorce when my ex died, I had all the evidence needed, and since the divorce wasn't completed, I don't have any legal ramification for releasing all of the evidence. I was off the next day and went to a print shop to get copies of all the delightful pictures of my ex cheating, his text conversations with his affair partner, the ones with his parents confessing to his cheating and getting support from them, my ex-in-laws harassing me about the divorce, and my coup de grace, all the emails and text messages of them bullying my daughters about their baby brothers. In one of them, they called my daughters bastards and told them it was their fault their father died since they told me about the affair and I began the divorce proceeding. This was literally 2 days after my ex and their father died. I paid extra for all of this to be printed in beautiful, high quality paper. Then when I got home, I sat down for hours to make delightfully personalized binders. They look like little prayer song packets the church gives for everyone to sing hymns out of. The first picture when opening the binders is my ex and his side woman making out in our living room. Their faces are easy to discern and the girl looks nothing like me. Different skin tone and hair color. Underneath, I wrote ex-husband's name and affair girl's name, love story. I took them to the church before service. There's a desk in the back with the songbooks for people that need/forgot their own and they never check them. The gospel mill was quick and harsh. The names my ex and his affair partner got called in the Facebook group were so bad that the pastor himself had to get involved just to keep things relatively PG-13. People were angry at my ex-in-laws for their abuse to my daughters, but what made me laugh was that I was still in the wrong for the divorce, but it is understandable that I failed on my duties as the wife after the shock, and I possibly will one day return to the light, unlike my cheating husband and his Jezebel. They used another word I can't use here, I imagine. I got 2 apology letters in the mail and the invitation from the church to join their church for support. As for my ex-in-laws, they got shamed into leaving the church. My ex-mother-in-law made a post on her wall about how alienated she feels and how no one cares for the elderly anymore, how she wished her great son was still alive since he would have taken care of her and her husband. With what money? I don't know, since I was the breadwinner. Explanation on the will. My ex-husband had a will that named his parents as beneficiaries. As far as I was aware, he had told me he had named our daughters, not them. I never pushed for me to be the beneficiary, as my own will has my daughters as the beneficiary and not him. Wow, what a whiplash of a story. First of all, OP, you are wonderful. You are a fantastic mom, and you are also a very strong woman. Absolutely, you should have started those divorce proceedings after you found out he cheated. Be so for real. You cannot be with somebody who cheated on you. Like I have said time and time again, and like I will continue to say, there are 8 billion people. That's billion with a B. People on this planet. Go find someone who worships the ground you walk on. You don't have to stay in a loveless marriage where somebody cheats on you and degrades you like that. The next point I want to make is about this church. This church sounds horrible. I am so sorry that you have been exposed to this. Religious trauma is no joke. This is unfortunately not the first time I've heard stories like this. I think that it's horrible for them to have treated you like that. And, you know, their son was clearly in the wrong. And this guy, obviously, I mean, you know, rest in peace, but he kind of sounds like a mama's boy. And I'm just really sorry that you've been through all this. But like I said, you are a very strong woman. You're a wonderful mother. You said your daughters are in therapy already. Good for you. That is literally the best thing that you can do for them. And I'm so proud of you. I think that you deserve a lot more than these awful, heinous, horrible people have ever given you or could ever give you. So keep your head up, stay strong. Things will get better. I am sending you and your kiddos so much love and good vibes. You guys deserve way more than anything that you've been given right now. And you know, it's not entirely inappropriate for you to cut them off too. If you want to go no contact with them, or you want to support your daughters in going no contact with them, no contact doesn't have to be forever, but it can be for right now until full healing has happened. And you know, I'm going to support you on whatever you choose because I am entirely on your side. But let's go ahead and see what these comments have to say. The first comment says, hitting religious zealots with proof of hypocrisy is always hilarious. The others will immediately exile them as public Christian image is too important. These people are what gives religion a bad name. I think it's a really easy way for people to power trip. I think it's a really easy way for men to control women. I think it's a really easy way of mind control if you're in the wrong setting. Okay, there are a lot of very religious people out there who are very emotionally intelligent. They are emotionally available. They know what to say. They know not to cross boundaries. People like this, though, these in-laws are absolutely disgusting creatures, and they are the ones that really give religion a bad name. And unfortunately, there are so many people like this out here. So the next comment says, ah, yes, I can only imagine who they all voted for. We're not going to say, but you guys know how I feel about that. Somebody responds to that and says, you can't spell hatred without red hat. Do you care if I steal that? That's a good one. The next one says, a bunch of old religious women accosting children in a market and shaming them in the name of their religion. That's just straight up Handmaid's Tale. America is so broken. The whole story is insane, but the OP doesn't even seem to grasp how truly, utterly broken society is to have to allow this 15th century garbage in the first place. I'm going to stop you there because we're not going to hate on the OP of this story. I think that she has a very good grasp in her head and her heart of exactly what's going on here. So we're not going to shame her. She's doing everything she can. She's doing her best. And also too, it is very bizarre to run into a religious person like this. Like I said, it's not exactly common. There are a lot of them out there, but I think most of them tend to be little keyboard warriors sitting here on their Facebook groups talking shit. And clearly that's what happened. So, all right, the last comment says, so fun fact, somebody did a study of estranged parents forums and estranged grown-up children forums to compare and contrast the attitudes therein. The adults always post vague stories and emphasize the emotions they are feeling. Example, child won't talk to me because this makes me feel bad. The children post evidence said, this is why I don't speak to my parents. Yeah, it's really sad when we have to cut people off for those reasons, especially when it's family. I can't even begin to imagine that type of hurt. I mean, I'm very blessed to have a wonderful relationship with my family, but my heart definitely goes out to anyone who's not, especially for these reasons. It makes it really easy to just, you know, sit still and look pretty and do what you're supposed to be told. But I don't know. The whole thing about religion too is that it is heavily male centered. So I think that's why I don't like it either. The whole, oh, you just want to have kids and go to church on Sunday and you want to be a good Christian and be a good wife to that man. Ma'am, that man is cheating on you. That man is abusing you and you still can't leave him because the church will shun you. It's just a system to trap women. So whatever. I don't know. OP, if you're out there, I love you. You're brave. You're a badass. Your daughters are beyond lucky to have you. And I'm sorry that this is a battle you're going to have to fight for a while, especially with 2 affair children that are involved that, you know, you shouldn't have to take them on. Those aren't your kids. If it's in your heart to, that's one thing. But if it's not in your heart to, and it does not have to be, then don't. I mean, you're making the right decision in all of this, and I sincerely hope that your journey gets easier for you from here on out. All right, the next story comes from r/confessions, and it says, I got the last laugh today against my brother and his wife. During the 2009 housing crash, I purchased a 4-bedroom home for $350,000 in Newport Beach. It's now valued at $1.75 million. I let my brother and his wife move in, and they pay enough rent, so I make a bit of money and the mortgage is covered. I could rent it out for $7,000 a month, but I charge them $2,500. I mostly did it for my 3 nephews. They go to a good school and I live in a very good area. Plus, I get to see them a lot, which I love. I do not get along with my sister-in-law. Recently, she and I got into an argument about moving in her sister and her husband. I said, absolutely not. I'm already subsidizing your rent and I'm not going to subsidize your families too. My brother and sister-in-law did sign a lease with general language about needing my approval to move in another tenant. My sister has never thanked me for letting them live there, despite her being one of the ones who benefits the most. She doesn't even have to work at all because of the rent that I charge. Well, my brother sided with her, so I'm going to both of you up. I changed my real estate plan from leaving my brother my house if I died to mandating that the house be put up for sale and having the profits be split between my 3 nephews. My brother was pissed and asked me why I did that. I said, to make sure your wife never gets my house. If I die, then you get it. Then if you die, then your wife gets it. Over my dead body. I'm not attached to the house. I just can't live with myself if there was even a 1% chance that some ungrateful bitch gets my house like she won the lottery. So now they're uncomfortable. Their housing is not as stable as they thought it was, and they can't afford to rent or buy a house either. I understand you not wanting to kick them out because of your nephews, and I think that that's just wonderful of you. I think you made the right choice, and yeah, she does sound ungrateful. How are you gonna live in somebody else's beautiful house for cheap as hell, so cheap to the point where you don't even have to work, and you're not even gonna say thank you? That's horrible. I'm so sorry that she's like that, but you know, you can't control other people. You can only control your own actions, and it really seems like that you have controlled your actions in the best way possible, and I'm proud of you. Let's see what the comments say. The top comment says, make it so the money sits until they go to college or reach the age of 21, so that way she can't make excuses to get into it early. OP replies to this comment and says, I made it 25 years old, actually. Good job. Good for you. You really have your head screwed on straight. Maybe consult with a lawyer too, just in case if you're able to afford it. Really make sure that there's nothing that they can do to screw you over in the long run. The next comment says, wow, it may be even time for a rent increase with the current economy. I completely agree. If you could rent it out for $7,000 a month and you're only renting it out for $2,500, you are doing them the biggest favor in the world, especially right now with our housing crisis and everything just being in total chaos all the time. You are really doing them a favor, and you're a very nice person, and I'm sorry that they're taking advantage of your kindness. The next comment says, if they want to just be disrespectful, I would throw them out and rent it out at market value. Put extra money in the trust for the kids when they grow up. All right, the last comment says, I live in Orange County, and if I had a brother-in-law who'd let me live in a house for $25,000 period, I'd kiss the ground he walked on. Rent is so beyond expensive in Orange County. Like, it's disgusting. I really don't blame you. I have a sister-in-law who is a lot like yours, and I would have done the exact same thing. That's what I'm saying. Rent is horribly expensive right now. Anywhere you go. And I mean, if they want to live in Newport Beach, that's cool. That's fantastic. But they should downsize and live within their means. And you know, what happens if there's some big giant blow up that happens between you guys and they get kicked out? Would you want to have rental stability? Having a safe place to live is so important, and feeling secure and safe in that place is also very important. These people are kind of seem like menaces to society. Maybe they should have been in last Thursday's episode instead, but we're gonna move along to the last story of the day. It is midnight when I'm recording this, and ya girl is ready for bed. Alrighty, the last one also comes from r/confessions, and it says, I broke my left arm on purpose and it did the job. When I was 12, I broke my arm/wrist intentionally by falling down the stairs at school. I had been really dizzy and I was having a lot of headaches, and I was fairly sure I needed glasses, but my mom wouldn't listen or take me to the eye doctor for some reason. I had broken my right wrist already, so I knew what it felt like, and I knew if it was more severely injured than before, they would be forced to address the situation. I knew I needed to do it at school when there were cameras and witnesses, and no one could accuse my parents of anything sinister, so I waited for a day when I knew one of my teachers would let me leave mid-class to go to a different floor. I threw myself up the stairs, tore a bunch of cartilage in my elbow, shattered my growth plate in my wrist, and got an eye doctor appointment. I was already an injury-prone kid. ADHD spatial awareness for the win. This did not get massively better, unfortunately, so no one questioned it. Relatable. I hated my glasses. Think aggressively unsexy librarian, but I needed them just as much, and I regret the lengths I had to go to. I'm so glad I got them finally. Your mom should have taken you to the doctor if you couldn't see. You were a smart kid. You did what you had to do, but I'm also really sorry that your mom didn't believe you and that you had to go to these lengths to be able to prove that you needed something for your own health. Yeah, that's pretty sucky of her, but hopefully you're doing better now. All right, the top comment says, I'm really sorry your mom failed you like that. No kid should feel the need to injure themselves just to be heard about their other needs. I completely agree. I think that's the really sad part of the story. And the fact that you also got the most unsexy glasses in the entire world, like, you should be able to feel confident in yourself, but I guess that's kind of a discussion for a different day. The next comment says, I didn't have to go through these lengths with my mom, but I did have to make issues big and react and create a problem or a scene somehow to get my mom to notice there was a problem or get help. Bit me in the ass one day because I grew up with some historic behavior as a coping mechanism. Curbed that real quick in my late 20s, but now I over-explain and justify and throw all of the evidence and facts at someone immediately so they can't ignore me or make excuses. They have to listen. I hate it. Thanks, Mom. Neglect doesn't always look like it does in the movies. Oh, this post is making me sad. I'm sorry for you guys. You guys all deserve better. Everybody deserves a mom who loves them, and I'm so sorry that you guys don't have that. That really makes me sad. The next comment says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger was drilled into my head as a kid. Enduring physical or emotional discomfort without complaint was expected. The other day, I was having a medical procedure done. This time, it was really painful. Something was stabbing me, and it's not a quick thing. It's a 5-hour procedure, but I was so afraid to complain. Luckily, the nurse could tell something was wrong and she fixed it with ease and asked why I didn't say anything. I had a revelation right then. I was trained not to complain. You were trained to be a people pleaser, to just sit still and look pretty and be a good little kid who didn't ever say what was wrong. And again, I'm so sorry that that's been your experience. I hope that you all on this post are able to get some type of therapy and hopefully be able to heal from this, because this is incredibly painful. The next comment says, my situation as a kid was similar. Couldn't see the board, couldn't tell which blurry scribble was which. Parents didn't want to buy me glasses, although both were myopic. It wrecked their idea that I was the perfect child. Hated school because the other kids laughed at me and my obviously wrong answers. When my first grade teacher threatened to hold me back, they finally relented and took me to an optometrist. First time I could see clearly and I could read just fine. I understand that it is somewhat difficult for children to be able to understand and explain fully kind of what they're going through. But if your child is coming to you with a problem and you are not equipped as a parent to listen and learn, maybe you should seek help from outside sources. And there is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. There are a ton of free and even affordable options for you out there to where you can get your kid the necessary help that they need. You can help them express what they're going through so that you can understand their needs. You're still a perfect child, even if you don't have perfect vision. Boo-hoo. Your parents suck for that comment. I'm sure that really hurt your self-esteem growing up. And I'm sure that really hurt your confidence too. All right. The last comment we're going to read, because now things are getting soggy. It says, it's a shame you have so many rubbish parents out there. People have kids for all the wrong reasons. I completely agree. And that really makes me sad and breaks my heart. I apologize for this episode kind of taking a sad turn, but it is really good to have awareness out there that these issues do exist. It is really important for people to be able to share their stories now as they grow up into adults, because I think that sharing your story and sharing your truth is a form of healing. So let's heal away. Comment below. Have you ever gotten revenge on someone? Has someone ever gotten revenge on you? Have you ever wanted to get revenge but have been too scared to? Tell me in the comments below, and I will see you guys on Sunday for the mashup episode. Bye!